What's up, y'all? It's Cousin Chet. And today I'm here with Noah, my buddy Noah. Thank you for coming out. Find him on Instagram at Noah Barker 2023. And next year, it'll be Noah Barker 2024. Apparently, he changes it every year. Every year. I'm thank you for coming out and hanging out and doing a podcast with me. I know you're probably one of the first people I remember talking to about I want to do this.
Yeah.
Probably, I don't know, a couple of years ago when COVID kind of hit.
Been a supporter since day one.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'd actually, in all honesty, this idea of doing a podcast came to me when I was in seminary. Mm-hmm. And then I let it go. And then I realized, I think that was what I was in seminary for, was to get to this point. Mm-hmm. And then I had to realize that I had to be outside of any kind of religious community or whatever, so that I was free to be myself.
Right.
So that was really important to me. And I do appreciate you being supportive. You have always been very supportive. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have a really cool relationship because I feel like we both kind of like encourage each other, feed off each other a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely been times where I've been like low confidence, and you'll say something to remind me, but and it'll just like sometimes that little word or whatever, and I'm like, fucking Noah's right. You know what I mean? Like, fucking grab your confidence, bro. Yes, and hopefully I've done the same thing with you for you over the years.
For sure.
Before we started things, we were kind of having a small conversation, and we were talking about police and our interactions with like getting pulled over. In the community that we live in, I feel like overall I've been treated pretty fairly by the police in this community.
I would say the same.
I grew up here until the 5th grade, and then I moved away. I've definitely lived in other communities and felt the policing in those communities.
Yeah.
Specifically, when I think that I graduated from a predominantly black high school, so I lived in a predominantly, or in a what may be considered a black community, and I know that the policing was different there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have a small town not far from us that we know you have to go the speed limit, you have to wear your seatbelt, you have to mind your P's and Q's, because they will pull you over for any small thing. Like, literally, I've heard that they will pull you over for 1 mile an hour over. I'm scared to go 1 mile an hour under.
Yeah.
Because I know that they might pull me over. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to talk about is that, are you afraid to be pulled over?
I would say yes. But I wasn't until I had gotten pulled over, was the main thing. I'd gotten pulled over for speeding. I was going 92 in a 65, which pretty bad. I should have gotten pulled over for that. I had missed my exit, and then I missed my exit again, and so I was frustrated. And I was about to miss my exit a third time. I was going to pick up my glasses, which I'm supposed to wear when I drive, which wasn't a very smart excuse to use when I got pulled over, was that I was on my way to pick up my glasses. But yeah, so I'd gotten pulled over. I'd missed my exit twice.
I couldn't see the speed limit sign.
I'd missed my exit twice, and I got frustrated, so I was trying to get over, and people weren't letting me through, and so I just gunned it right next to a cop. So that wasn't a very fun experience. And then I guess, the experience with the cop was fine. I mean, he just asked me, he was like, the normal stuff. There wasn't any bad blood, I guess, in that conversation. I knew I was hit, and there wasn't any getting out of it. So I was like, but for the most part, it went pretty smoothly. But but back to your question, am I afraid to get pulled over? Kinda, just because of the anxiety of that entire situation. It's just not really something I want to go through again.
And that's probably a better word than fear. Maybe it's just
Anxious.
the anxiety. So you're driving down the road. Let's just use a hypothetical, right? You're driving down the road. We'll call it not a highway, but not necessarily a residential street, right?
Okay. It's like a country road.
Sure, but just like a regular thoroughfare, but it's not like a highway, right?
Okay.
Maybe a road between towns, so to speak, kind of thing. I don't want to use specific examples because
Yeah.
I try to keep myself from using giving too much information. Although, like if you listen to my podcast, you know where I live and where I live. But I still try to be careful. So anyway, and so say it's at night, right? And you're driving down the road and you see a state boy or a sheriff or a police officer in the side road, and he comes out and he gets behind you.
Yeah.
Does the anxiety hit right then?
That's happened to me a few times, yeah. I was going to one of the racetracks, and I think it kind of was that. It was like a 55, 60 mile per hour road, and I was only going like 70, maybe. 65, 70, and a cop pulled out right behind me, and I instantly like locked up, and I was like 55 the whole way. And saw it, and then at that point I was in the left lane, so all the people that were wanting to go fast were behind me, and I couldn't get over to the right lane.
Because now you're going to speed limit.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, eventually I had to get over because I was going to miss my exit again. I didn't want to go through that situation again.
Right.
But yeah, so as soon as that happened, like he pulled out, it was right behind me, and then I locked up. I went down to 55 straight away. He didn't flick his lights on or anything. Once I got off the exit, he was gone. But yeah, like right then it was when it set in for me.
So it's pretty significant,
as soon as I see him pull
instant
out.
anxiety spike.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're looking at a situation where you're speeding. Worst case scenario, you're going to get a ticket. Like you don't really, like in that scenario, are you afraid of going to jail? Are you afraid of anything other than a ticket and the interaction between the cop?
No. Not for me, no. I just don't want to go through the ticket system, go to court and have to pay the fine.
Right.
Just rather not deal with that.
Right. But I mean, I guess is that what's driving your anxiety? Like, I guess that's my question. What's driving your anxiety in that situation?
Well, I think when I got hit for a 92, the judge at court said that if I ever got another speed ticket, they would suspend my license. So I really don't want to get my license suspended, even though that was 3 years ago. So I don't know how much that still has weight.
I don't think you have to be. I mean, it depends on what you get.
Yeah. But I
think they do a points thing and all that jazz. So your points probably have fallen off and all that jazz. I don't know.
That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, pretty much when the judge said that kind of set it in for me. I was like,
he scared you.
Yeah.
He's like scared you straight.
Yeah.
No, it's like set the cruise control on the speed limit and don't go no faster.
Yeah, pretty much. Most I'll ever do is 5 over.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the speed limit, right?
Right.
Like you could pretty safely get away with 5 over. I am the same way, and like I get super anxious. I think for me, I know that a small interaction with a cop can turn into a very bad day for me. That a cop that's having a bad day can take it out on me. I know that discretion is discretionary, and the way that discretion for a lot of police officers, here's my concern. I know that I can get pulled over for something small, and if I say the wrong thing, that cop can twist it on me.
Yeah.
And he can make it look like I'm being an asshole, now he gets to be an asshole. Or he can just be an asshole until I respond unfavorably, and then he can turn that around on me. I look at any interaction with a police officer like I could go to jail. And I could go to jail for a long time because he could kick my ass and then take me to jail, and I could get charges for assault on a police officer when maybe all I was doing was trying to fucking defend myself. And that concerns me. Like, I don't want to be pulled over strictly for that reason. Like, if maybe I am speeding, maybe my tail lights out.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation is, anytime that I get pulled over, I feel like that situation could escalate to me going to jail, even if all I'm doing is not wearing my seatbelt.
Yeah.
And so that's where my anxiety comes from. And I get a tremendous amount of anxiety anytime I see a police officer. Like, literally. Like, they could be parked on the side of the road and I'll get anxious.
Yeah. That's kind of the same way.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, and I'm going to compare my experience in our community to when I was living in a black community. And I got pulled over around when I was around 18. In both scenarios, both situations, I'm the driver of the car, and in both situations, I have at least 3 other people in the car.
Mm-hmm.
The one time that I got pulled over in this community, it was a car full of white people, including myself. And then the time I got pulled over in the black community, it was a car full of black people other than myself. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the early instances where I learned that there can be a difference in policing, mm-hmm. and just the way that we were handled. I was definitely speeding, and when I was in the white community, and I got a warning. Mm-hmm. And we were smoking. I was 18. That car was Cheech and Chong'd out. Like, when we rolled down the windows, there's no way that a cloud didn't billow out. Yeah. There's no way he didn't smell it. We weren't Cheech and Chonging it, but I know that we had been smoking weed in the other context too. We were pulled out, the car surged, blah, blah, blah. Like this whole rigmarole of investigation and bullying and trying to trip people up on their stories and all that jazz. Whereas in the other time, they only talked to me, took my license, told me I was speeding, came back, gave me a ticket, and said, "Have a nice day." You know, like literally, those are 2 examples that I have from like 18 years old. And that's one reason why I say that discretion is discretionary. Yeah. Like it really, you don't know when and how discretion is going to be applied. Right. So that's been one of my concerns. And how did your parents raise you? Did they talk about police? Like, what was kind of like your cultural feeling?
I wasn't taught about. I mean, like, I was told like not to do, but not as much as like what could happen or pretty much what they can do or what their authority or like pretty much. I wasn't really taught a whole lot about the police system. But I knew that. I mean, I've always been like a goody two shoes anyway, so I don't think they really felt like they had the need to explain. I guess would be the easy answer there.
Were you in the car when your parents were pulled over as a kid?
Not at a age where I could remember it. Okay. Like I was really young.
So your parents kind of minded their P's and Q's. They never really got pulled over or anything like that. So you never got to see them interact with police in that situation. Like when you were younger, when you were like in high school, did you have feelings one way or the other about police? Like, did you feel like, I'm glad they're there, I feel safer when they're around, or, thin blue line, respect the blue line, support the blue line, things like that, or?
Yeah, I respected it and I supported. I was glad that they were there. Like, I felt safe with the police around.
Right on.
And I still do. There's nothing really changed. Just
unless you're speeding.
Yeah,
unless you're doing something wrong. Yeah. Like for you, it's like if I'm doing something wrong, I just don't want to get caught.
Yeah.
Don't catch me, Mr. Popo Man.
Yeah, it's not illegal unless you get caught.
Yeah. But you said you're a goody two shoes, so you really don't.
No, I don't.
You don't really bend the rules that much. Like the most that you might do is go 7 miles an hour over type shit, or hit the gas because you're just trying to get your exit type shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much my extent of breaking the law. Right.
So have you ever been in trouble? Like, did you get in trouble in school, ever get suspended?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, I never got in trouble. I was always like a teacher's pet, goody two shoes, right. Sucking up to the teachers. I don't like being in trouble. I don't like being in that situation, so I never tried to put myself in those situations.
Right. I don't like being in trouble too, but I still would always find myself.
Right.
I'm pretty rebellious in a way. I'm like anti-authoritarian in a way.
Yeah.
You get that?
I'm like the exact opposite.
You are. You're. And I'm not judging one as bad or the other good. Like I'm just it's a little bit rougher when you're like me because the nail that sticks out gets hammered, so to speak. But I'm a firm believer in civil disobedience. So there's that. When like the Black Lives Matter movement was going on a couple of years ago, and one of the big messages that I felt like the Black Lives Matter movement and those riots of the summer of 2020 was that they were looking at police brutality and this discretionary kind of action that they are claiming, and I say that I have direct experience with, is a difference in policing of the communities. Now, I've heard stats that actually, more white people are killed by cops than black people and all that. And I'm very aware that the media has its bias, but I'm also aware that policing is done differently. It is applied differently. I feel that with the example I gave earlier, a lot of people would call that white privilege. And I guess I'm gonna ask you, like, have you ever felt white privilege?
I mean, I would say I don't really. I mean, I would say probably, but I couldn't really find an example of it. But I definitely know that it's there.
Yeah.
Right.
What is your understanding of that?
What do you mean? I guess.
Like, what is your understanding? What is white privilege to you? Like, how do you understand what that phrase means?
I don't know if I can think of I don't know if I have an answer to that on the spot. I mean, getting treated differently because of your race, but like better.
Right. Obviously, it wouldn't be a privilege if it wasn't better.
Right.
One of my.
I don't really have any experience with.
And do you think that you've benefited from white privilege? Just as in general.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, probably not really, but I haven't really been in a situation where, I mean, I don't think I've been in many situations where it would have made a difference.
Yeah. Let me back that up, though. If you're a black guy driving through this neighborhood and through this community, do you think you would be treated the same?
Like if everything about me is still the same.
Everything was the same except that you and your household was black.
Well, probably for me, probably wouldn't change, but that's just because I'm
a goody two shoes.
Yeah, I mean, for other people in my family, probably wouldn't be the same.
You think your brother would be in more trouble?
Probably.
He spend more time in juvie type shit?
Probably.
I think, to kind of go back to that experience when I was 18, like realizing the differences of the policing and realizing that overall, like, okay, let me back up because I get anxiety still. If I'm driving down the road and I see one of these sheriffs, I'm like, oh no, I don't want them to get behind me. You know what I mean? I just get an immediate like anxiety spike, and then it goes away because like 9 times out of 10 they don't pull out behind me because I'm on my P's and Q's. Like I don't speed. I always wear my seatbelt. My insurance is good. All my lights are good. Like that's something that I do because it's kind of out of anxiety, right? Yeah. I don't want to give them any reason to pull me over. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I keep not looking at the camera. What's up, everybody? I'm talking to you. And so, that's something I learned, over my life. When I was younger, like I didn't care. Like I drove for a long time without wearing my seatbelt. Again, I was kind of a rebel. I was like, the government has no right to tell me if I need to wear my seatbelt or not. I'm tired of these insurance companies making all the laws. And then, as I said, especially as a younger person, like I almost always had some weed in the car. So for the most part, like I minded my P's and Q's because I just didn't want to get any interactions. And when I was younger, like I sped, I didn't wear my seatbelt, blah, 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 blah. I didn't always have my lights good. And so I learned, or it took me a couple years, a couple times to go, okay, I need to make sure everything on my car is tight so they don't have a reason to pull me over. I don't want to give a police officer any reason to stop me.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether I'm doing something right or wrong, I just don't want that interaction. And so, like for me, when I think of white privilege, I think that this is hard because I think that there are a lot of things that people say I have a privilege of, and I'm like Theo Vaughn, and I'm like, damn, missed that. You know, I might know a couple people with, you know, some nice sweaters in the winter, but I'm a 2 tank top kind of man. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like I came from any kind of privilege.
Yeah.
I came from overall poor people, and you know the only way out was education, super skill, or luck. I mean, the only way that I felt like we had an opportunity to change our situation was those avenues: hard work, education, and maybe like a talent, you know, like sports or music or something. And so it's challenging for me because I kind of see both sides of that, especially coming from a poorer community myself, and recognizing that, like, there may have been a difference when I got pulled over that day, and I totally give that. Like, a white person being pulled over in a white community such as ours, that discretion is going to be applied a little bit less. They're going to look at it like, and maybe it's a tribal thing, but they're like, oh, I don't want to hurt this kid's future. I don't want to give him a record yet. You know, he's just being stupid, a dumb young kid. And I feel like in that sense, it's really more of a tribal thing. It's like, I can see my little brother in this person. Like, if a white officer is pulling, you know what I mean? To where we don't have that type of relationship between white and black people. And oftentimes, like, honestly, even black police officers, I feel like they treat black people the same way that white officers do most cases. Like, like literally, like, to me, it doesn't matter what color the officer is, they're blue. That's their color. You know, I don't know if there are moments when, say, maybe a black officer pulls over a group of black men and uses his discretion to say, you know what, I don't want to create records, you know. And I think that is a big privilege.
Yeah.
I think having a record young, especially young adulthood, is a stain for the rest of your life. And so if there is that privilege to have, maybe they don't press the charges, maybe they don't arrest you, maybe they look over it, maybe they just let you pour your weed out and stomp on it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing, versus charging you for it. That discretionary thing. But again, to go back to, that's also what creates my anxiety, is I know that discretion is there.
Yeah.
So have you been around a lot of people like from other races, from other cultures?
Probably, I mean, a lot, probably not. I mean, our town is not a whole lot, and most of the time I spend myself in the racing world, so, and that's like,
very white?
Yeah.
The drag racing world?
No, circle track is what I do. But,
okay. But kind of.
But yeah, racing in general.
Car racing is pretty generally a white sport, no doubt. Now, you said from our community, but our community's actually got a lot of Spanish-speaking Central Americans.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Do you notice them?
I do, I would say.
Like, I don't. I mean, I do and I don't.
Oh, well.
Like when I drive through town, it's not like, and I don't know, is it half and half, you think? Is
I would
it
say
like,
probably. Like, I'm not.
Is it like 70-30?
I guess, what do you mean by notice?
Like when I
I'm
go to
not.
Speedway, I don't see a lot of Spanish-speaking Mexican, Latin American, Central American people. I know they're in this community. I know they're all over this community. They've got their own. There's a Spanish-speaking grocery store. I'm pretty sure the Catholic Church has a Spanish-speaking mass. And if you go to the school, you'll see them because there's a full. Like I'm gonna go 70-30. You think that's fair? You went to school here more than I did, so.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I mean,
Like I spent some time mentoring in the middle school, and I felt like it was about 70-30.
like 70.
Like 70% white, 30% Hispanic, roughly. And that might be giving them some, maybe 75-25. My point is that there's a large group of
Yeah.
Spanish-speaking people in our community, and Latin or Hispanic or whatever we want to refer to that culture as. My grandmother didn't like that. My grandmother was a Spanish-speaking person, and she didn't like Hispanic or Latin. She didn't like any of the labels. Maybe that's where I get my dislike from labels from. And she would always explain it. She's like, no, Hispanic is a culture and it includes everybody. It's not a race. So you can't say my race is Hispanic. I'm like, point made, point taken. She's like, Hispanic includes every race. You could be black Hispanic, white Hispanic, anywhere in between Hispanic. You know, any of the shade of human could be Hispanic. And then I can't remember why she didn't like Latin. She didn't like being called Mexican because she's like, I'm not Mexican. I was born in the United States. I'm from the United States of America. I was born here. Mexican is a nationality. It's not a race. It's not who I am. So anyway, but even at that, like in this community, like when you're out in public, like, do you notice that diversity in our community?
I would say, for the most. I mean,
I'm asking you what your perception is.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would say. I would say.
I don't. I'm like, where are they all hiding? I want to be friends. You know what I mean? Like every now and then I go to the grocery store just to buy some Spanish shit. You know, get some tamales, some real tamales, or to listen to people speak Spanish.
Oh, and they have that store right next to where my mom's is at.
Yeah, your mom's store is right next. Yeah. And that store has been around for actually quite some time.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, I know that the Catholic Church has a mass. They have mass on Sundays. It's a Spanish mass. I know there's a Mennonite church also that does a Spanish-speaking service that's not too far from here. But like when I'm driving through town, I don't look over in the car next to me and see a lot of Spanish or brown skin. You know? I mean, I don't. When I go to Speedway or
I don't really pay
going through
attention, I guess.
McDonald's or... I mean, I don't pay attention. I mean, I'm not like looking like, oh, where's that? But I'm also like, I know that there's a large community here, and I don't see them. You know, and I'm trying to find them because I just want to learn Spanish and be friends and find me a hyena. You know what I'm saying? But no, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I do know that there's a large community here, but like when I see our festivals in this town, I see mostly white people. I see white people. You know what I mean? Like the majority, and it's just kind of, and I love our town. Like I think our town has great character. I love that we have a very blue collar, gearhead type of community. You know, you mentioned racing earlier. I think one of the things that makes our community awesome and one of the biggest characteristics is all the gearheads and all the like hot rods. Like there is a car show every Monday night. And we're not talking like a teenage parking type car show. We're talking like a legit car show sponsored by a bank or community organization. We're talking about old heads sitting in lawn chairs next to their really nice classic hot rods. Like these aren't just
my grandpa to a T.
he probably shows up to those, doesn't he? Like he's probably part of that, like the cruising or whatever you call it. Every Monday in the summer, every Monday, and then we have this big festival, and the biggest part of that festival is a car show that literally is blocks and blocks and blocks long.
Yeah.
Like literally, like through the whole town, from Domino's all the way to Speedway, which I'm gonna count as at least 3 blocks.
Yeah.
And then it'll go down the sides of a
Like,
block in either direction on one street. Like, and then sometimes there are more cars than that. Like, there are a lot of hot rods, and they're all local cars.
Yeah.
These are all cars that are coming out of garages right here in this local area. I mean, if this place is known for anything, it's hot rods, which is also cool because, especially on a warm day, you might see my boy Jay driving his old Mustang kind of quick.
Jay.
You know what I mean? But like to see an old '68 Mustang that's basically like original, you know, to see that, like you that's not an uncommon sight here, to see those kind of cars.
Right.
And you said that describes your grandpa to a T.
Sitting out there in a lawn chair, shirt off with his. Used to have I forget what it was, but he called it Old Yeller.
Old Yeller?
It was an old yellow car. It was pretty sweet.
I'm hoping it was yellow car.
I forget what it was, but yeah, he's always sitting out there in his lawn chair with his shirt off, just chilling.
Right. And then so like, is that how you got into like racing, like drag racing, circle racing?
Oh yeah, my grandpa pretty much said that as soon as I became potty trained, he was gonna start taking me to racetracks. So at 2 years old, I was going up to like Shady Bowl and Killcare and whatnot. We were going all over. We were going to those. That was 2 years old, and then he put me in a quarter midget at 5. So
He put you in a car in a race at 5 years old?
Yeah, I was 5 years old when I first started racing.
Tell me about this.
About quarter midgets?
Yeah.
Well, actually, technically, you can start at 4.5. You can start practicing at 4.5, but you can't actually like race with other cars until 5. So I was 5 years old when I first started quarter midget racing, and I pretty much did that from 5 all the way to 15. Just
So what is a quarter midget?
it's like well, the true definition is a quarter scale of a full size midget.
So when you say midget, you're talking about an MG car. Yeah, you said a quarter size of a midget?
Yes, it's yes.
So what is a first, if it's a quarter size of something, I need to know what that something is before I can understand what a quarter size is. So what's a,
Oh, my phone's over there.
go ahead. Because I'm thinking of the MG car, like the little,
So this is
so
a quarter
round,
midget.
okay,
That's a quarter midget, and then a midget is 4 times that size.
okay. And I'm gonna try to help the people out. If you can see that,
Turned off.
hit the button. If you can see that, that is the quarter midget. And if you've ever been to a round track, this is actually not a, this is not an uncommon car to see on a round track, especially at like a back, like Shady Bowl, things like
They
that.
do shows for that too.
And I'd assume that a lot of like NASCAR drivers, they get their start in those quarter midgets.
Yeah,
Right. Okay, so 4.5, 5 years to 15 years old, you're driving that in round and round circles. How big are these circles?
I think a general was like 1/20 of a mile. It's tiny, but these are tiny.
Yeah.
That first.
So one lap is like 20th of, so it takes 20 laps to get a mile, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. It's like 5-6 seconds a lap, depending on the track you're at. It's, for the fast cars, like the rookies, whatever, they'll get like 7 or 8. But for the most part, like 6-second lap times. Would be a good
6 second lap time. Okay.
So you're going around pretty quick. But
Yeah. Do you get dizzy?
No, I don't.
When
no.
you get done, do you feel like I used to go skating, like roller skating, and then I get done, I feel like I'm still going in like a circle skating. When you after you get done with the race, do you still like feel like you're driving in circles?
Not really.
No.
No.
It doesn't get weird like when you get in your car and you're going down the straight road and you're like, I just want to turn left a little bit.
Nah.
Right on. I don't know.
No, not really. But yeah, I've been doing that. I'm still in the quarter midget community because I still do the flagging and race directing and stuff like that for the same tracks I used to race at when I was younger. Because I quit racing. It's been 5 years now. Doesn't really feel like it.
Why'd you
I
quit?
haven't really been out of it.
Why'd you quit?
So with quarter midgets, you can only race until you're 16. Like they cut you off at that. You either have to go to big cars or you're done. And
Okay.
in our situation, we didn't really have enough money to go to big cars.
Okay.
And so I kind of just took the route of going back to the tracks and helping them out, like, because it's nonprofit, so they don't hire anybody. They everybody has to volunteer to flag or race direct or whatever. So you have all these volunteers. I was like, what if I just go up there, do it all, like do one of those, and
Just volunteer for something to help.
and then everyone else can go back and like work on their cars and stuff, or if they need to, or whatnot. Just give the other people a break so I can help out and step up and help out. That was my main objective in going back. I had an opportunity to race a big car, but I got in it, and that was actually this past fall. I was in it, and it just didn't really feel right for me anymore. Like as a driver, I felt like my spot was not as a driver, but as like an official.
That's fair. I mean, if that's what you figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do it bad. I got in there. I was only running like 3 or 4 tenths slower than what a good lap time is, and I've only practiced it like 2 or 3 times. But I was like, I don't know. It just didn't feel like it was for me anymore to be a driver.
What about mechanicking?
Well, I kind of got a slow start to that because with my grandpa, he's like a perfectionist. He had to do everything his way, and he also has very low
There's
patience.
some old head mechanics. They do not have patience for teaching us.
He had very low
My dad
patience
was the
too.
same way.
So I never really got to...
He's like, get out of the way, just let me do it. God damn, you can't figure this out, man. It's a wrench. It's just a wrench.
If you want something
Then he
right, you gotta
throws
do it
it.
yourself. Yep.
Because he's mad at you because you took forever. Because you're like, I don't know. Do I use the boxed end or the open end? Which one's better? I don't know. Let me figure this out myself. I don't know. Boxed end. Let me try it that way. And then your dad's like, get out of my way. You're taking too long. Jesus Christ. Get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't really ever get to work on my own cars. He always did it because he always wanted to do it and have it. And he pretty much, if something went wrong, he wanted it to be his fault.
And I get that. And I mean, you can make something go wrong.
Yeah.
Like, if you make an error, if you don't put something together right. Yeah, I can definitely, I can appreciate that from his end, especially on a race car, right? You're going fast, he wants to, if he's going to watch you, his grandchild, run around in 6 seconds, laps, you know what I mean? Like, he wants to know that everything's snug and tight and right. So I get it. It's a little hard. And if he's anything like I said, just that previous generation from me, like, they didn't have that kind of patience for teaching,
Yeah, I started learning a little bit when I started going back and helping at the racetracks. Because I would also, I'm friends with everybody. I can talk to anybody. I can talk to a brick wall, have a conversation.
Okay. This makes him a great podcast guest if he could talk to a brick wall. But those are not brick walls out there. There's about 20 people that are going to watch this. None of them are brick walls.
Perfect.
Except the one that is my account. But that's kind of, no.
But I would make friends, and I would go over, and they would show me how to do stuff, like how to work on the cars and stuff. And so I always try and help people out whenever I can, if I have the time or whatnot.
Yeah.
If I'm not busy.
Your grandpa's a mechanic, right? He owns a shop.
Yeah.
Right? You ever work in his shop with him?
No, not really. I have a few times, but I've never, like...
You're like, what I want to stand around here for and watch you do everything, Grandpa. You won't let me do nothing anyway. I'm going to have to tag your grandpa on this just so he knows.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll watch it.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he's going to be like, yeah, I got time to sit down and listen to you chit-chat. I got screws to torque and wrenches to turn. That generation was such a... They were so mechanically inclined. Especially like from this community right here. Like like, again, you know, we're talking about this is Gearhead, the Gearhead village, the Gearhead town. Like, we have a town that's like for hippies that's not too far from here, and it's great. It's got a great atmosphere. Dave Chappelle lives there. People love it, and it's got a great like artisan community. This community right here, Gearheads, hot rods, like blue collar. We're talking plumbers, carpenters, salt of the earth type people, straight from the hills of Appalachia. Except for the Spanish speakers, and they all come from like Guatemala, Mexico, and wherever they come from. And they're all, hey, guess what? They're like the same. That's to like go back. They're all handymen, landscapers. These are blue collar, salt of the earth type people. It's so like kind of ironic to me or funny that like they chose this community to be like one of their home spots, I guess you could say, or whatever. Because they are really actually similar to the people that are from here, like as far as that like blue collar work ethic kind of thing. Which actually it's funny because like where your grandpa's shop is, in that same building on the opposite side of the building is like Chavez.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's like Chavez. He's like some. I mean, I'm assuming with a name like Chavez that he. I think I've seen. I have a hard time calling them Mexicans because I don't know if they're actually Mexican or Guatemalan or El Salvadoran. So I call them Spanish speakers. But they're like, I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of Spanish speakers going on, and I think there's a Spanish speaking mechanic shop on the opposite side of the building from the building that your grandpa's in.
Could be. I've never.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll show up at the drag races one day. Because I know, like, when I was growing up, my family in Texas, when I got to meet, like, my Spanish-speaking part of my family,
Yeah.
like, cars were a big deal to them. Like, my Uncle Abel had, like, a 69 Camaro. What was that color? It's cherry red? It's not cherry. Candy apple red, right? Like, that's a very popular color on a car. Like, that's like a primo. It's candy apple with flakes or whatever, right? 69 Camaro. And then, like, my Uncle Martin, was it Martin? Somebody else had, like, a Mach 1 Mustang. Like, they were about their cars. They were about their, like, muscle cars, heavy speed, heavy foot kind of cars. So, I don't necessarily see that. But, again, I don't see a lot of the Spanish speakers, like, out in public here. Like, they just do their, like, they've got their own community. And somehow they don't do it in public.
Yeah.
They do it at home. But they'll also come in and like refurbish like whole streets. Like whole streets a couple years ago, just run down, look like blight, and then like a bunch of Spanish speakers come in, they remodel, flip them, whatever they did. Race is kind of a big deal to me. Like it's a theme that I kind of want to work with a little bit, and so getting people's perspectives. And I know that you have a very, like, you grew up in this community all your life. Never went to a different school district, nothing. Like, this is the first time you saw somebody that wasn't white.
I don't know. I feel like I've always. I mean, it was probably in school, but I don't know, like, probably from the beginning.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because it could be easy to kind of like be secluded in a certain area. And I know like this area was different than, because like, I didn't see a black person in school until I was in the 5th grade.
Oh.
Like, we had an assembly and everything. And I probably said this on a previous podcast or in another context, but
I don't think you've told me.
we had an assembly, and they were like, we're going to have black people, and I know y'all never seen them before, and we need y'all to be on your P's and Q's and act right. Legit. And I know I tell people that, and they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. That's so racist. And I'm like, well, at the same time, like, it made some of us act right. You know what I mean? It gave us an awareness. Because we had never seen people of a different hue of man than our own. And racism was real. Like, I know that, like, there are definitely racist people in this community. There are definitely racist people in my white side of my family, and so racist against my grandma, who's is Texican. It's the only thing I can call her like legit that she wouldn't get mad. I love you, Grandma. So anyway, so back to racing, because racing was definitely like big for me. Like my uncle drove race cars.
Mm-hmm.
Now he did drag.
Okay.
But my uncle won like 1981 Pro ET, kind of like, you know what I mean? Like I think it was 1981 with Lil Wedge. Like I want to say it was a 60 or early 70s model satellite.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the whole Mopar versus Chevy versus Ford thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
And that car still will show up at Killcare. My cousins are driving it. They got another one called Snow White. They're all Mopar people for the most part.
Never been a huge drag racing person.
Right? Do you watch drag races?
The only drag racing I really watch is when I'm watching Street Outlaws on TV.
Right.
I don't like actually go to drag racing like events or whatnot. Even at Killcare, I've never actually watched a drag race. I'll go to the circle track, but
Yeah. That's funny because I was like, I didn't have a lot of exposure to circle track growing up around drag racers. Like when I was around that part of my family,
I just always thought it was kind of boring in a sense. Like 4 seconds in a straight line, in my opinion, was kind of boring to watch.
That's less boring than 6 seconds, 6 seconds, 6 seconds, 6 seconds. Left turn, Clyde, left turn, Clyde. Yeah. Every 6 seconds. I'm just kidding.
Another left turn.
Another left turn.
Yeah, and I think they.
I'm teasing you, bro.
I know.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah, I'm not offended. I used to get offended, but now I'm like, it's the same joke everyone makes.
I think they can both be kind of boring.
Yeah.
Is my point.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It just it depends on the or who the person is.
And it depends on like how much you're into it. It's like any other sport. Like somebody can watch football and be like, "Oh my God, that's boring," and sit next to another person and be like, "Oh my God, this is fascinating."
Yeah.
Or golf. Like people that watch golf on TV, I'm just like, how? Golf? How?
I only watch golf to laugh at them when I miss.
Have you ever tried golf?
Yeah, I'm terrible.
He said, "Yeah, but I'm terrible." It's not an easy one, bro. Like, golf is not easy. And I feel the same with like baseball. Like I can't watch baseball on TV, bro. But if I go to a game, I don't care if it's minor league. Like I don't care if it's kind of like live music. If I go to a Fish concert or go see Eminem or Jay-Z in concert, like that's a big deal and I love it.
Yeah.
But if it's just some local band in a local bar and they're halfway decent, like don't get me wrong, I don't want to listen to somebody that can't play at all. But if they're halfway decent, like I'm gonna rock out.
Yeah.
And I don't care what genre it is really, unless it's just like some super screamo type of like just noise. Like I'm gonna rock out because I love live music. And I feel the same way about like baseball. Like I could go watch a little league game and enjoy it just as much as I could watching a professional game.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like even going to like the high school basketball games.
Right.
Get turned up there.
Right.
Go there.
Yeah. Do we have a good basketball team here?
The girls are good.
The girls are good.
The guys are not that great.
Guys, man. They need some
But we've
practice.
always been that way. Like our girls team has always been good, but our guys team is usually, hit or miss, but usually not.
I've never known our high school to be like known for any sport. Like they usually get kind of like crushed. But this community is like a little bit far out, and I don't even know like who we compete with, because like do we compete with the like, suburban kind of teams? You know what I mean? Like who are we supposed to be playing to really be like in the same category, so to speak?
I don't even think they're like D1 as like a high school. I don't think they're
right.
Pretty sure they're D2.
Yeah. And see, the high school that I graduated from, they're like state champs, basketball, football, like in the running. There's so much in the running that their old conference kicked them out because they're like, we can't compete with these guys. But to be fair, like that school produces NFL caliber
Yeah.
players.
Yeah.
That school literally like some of those kids are going to at least go on to play college ball, even if they're not playing Division I like Ohio State, and some of them do. You know what I mean? We've got coaches that have won Super Bowls coming out of that high school. Like Mr. Martindale won with the Ravens. He came straight out of that high school. John Lumpkin, Ohio State. My arch nemesis in high school, like the guy that we didn't like each other and all that jazz, he played like third string for the Browns and the Vikings. And I'm not bragging about third string being some kind of, but I mean, you're pretty good if you get college scholarships and you get a shot and you get a roster spot. You know what I mean? To me, that's a big deal.
They say the best job to have is backup quarterback.
Backup quarterback, that's the best job. Why is that the best job?
So you get you get all the perks of being a starting quarterback, but you don't have to actually play.
Right.
You don't have to
Okay.
risk yourself out there.
Right. I always thought of the backup quarterback's like an assistant coach, just sitting around with he's just sitting around with his clipboard. You ran this play already. Oh, it's 3rd and 2. Maybe we should run this. And I don't even know what he does because there's like 5 coaches above him making decisions. So he's just taking notes. I'm busy here, coach. Look at me. I'm ready to go in at any time. Give me the ball, coach. I think that was another because I like sports. Growing up, I played baseball and football. For me and my context, those were like the 2 sports. I think one year my brother and I there was some guy that was like, "Hey, I'm putting together a basketball team and you guys look like you don't have a home, so or maybe you look like ain't nobody at home, so maybe you come play with me." And dude, the fact that I was never molested, I feel lucky. Like honestly, like the scenarios, without having parents around, it's dangerous, and I feel blessed and lucky. But no, so we played like a season of that. But football was my thing. Baseball, like t-ball, and then the other part of it was like we could walk to practice because like my dad wasn't around and my mom, like she didn't take us to games. She didn't come watch games. So if we wanted to play, like we had to like walk. We had to walk to practice. We had to show up to everything ourselves. We had to do everything ourselves. And so football and baseball were the 2 that I could walk to as a kid. I mean, talking Pee-wee, the wee arrows type shit, you know?
Yeah, I played on the other side of the field. I was on the soccer fields. I was a pretty good soccer player, to be honest.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting to me because soccer is probably one of the like world's most popular sports, and it's not here. So how did you get into soccer? What was the draw?
My mom didn't want me to play football because I was kind of she thought I was a
wimp.
Yeah, so she wanted me to do something, but she thought I was a wimp, so she wouldn't let me play football.
Or she was just scared for you. Yeah. She was a wimp for you, wasn't she?
She let Cameron play, but she never.
What?
She let Cameron play football.
She's like, I don't care if Cameron gets hurt. Whatever. He can break his neck for all I care, but no.
Cameron's always been bigger than me, and he's always been stronger than me. So
got you.
He was more cut out for football, or soccer was more for me.
Right.
But that's how I kind of got into it.
So your mom got you into it?
Pretty much, yeah.
So like, how old are you when you get into soccer?
Well, I started with TESA, so I mean, I was young.
You started with what?
With TESA.
What is that?
It's the.
Oh, it's just like a local league.
Yeah, it's the league they play at. They used to play at Rainer, but they got rid of all the soccer fields at Rainer. Now they play up across the street from Casey's. You know where that field's at, right there. Like it's you turn right at Casey's, then turn left like immediately. There's a bunch of soccer fields right there. That's where they play.
What do you mean?
Now.
Where's Casey's?
And like
Medway.
Well, you go down to. If I'm going home, down 235.
Yeah.
There's a Casey's, like where the old Century Lanes was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you say you turn left there.
Yeah. You pass Casey's and like literally immediately.
I know what you're talking about. The soccer field.
Yeah, that's where they do. That's where they do Tasty.
You know what? That family who owns that property has done everything from soccer fields to tiling to big piles of rock. Like, I don't know. Like, that family owns that property. They are willing to get into any kind of business. But you're right. And they used to have an arcade. When I was little, there was an arcade in that property. and like a like not you couldn't like golf, but like a driving range.
Okay.
And you're right, they do have a lot of soccer fields
Yeah,
back there.
that's where they do the little like takes as kind of like little league for baseball or whatever. So that's where I started.
So you're how old?
Right now?
No. When you start playing soccer, football.
I think I was 6 or 7 probably.
Okay.
I mean, I was young. I don't remember exactly how old, but I played for 6 years until I was 13. So until I was a freshman in high school. So 7.
Okay.
And I played until I was a freshman in high school. That's pretty much when they stopped. When you couldn't play taste anymore, you had to go to the high school team pretty much if you wanted to. But I didn't think I was good enough to play on the high school team, even though I had a bunch of people say that they're like, come on, you should come play. They're like, we need you, and I'm like, I was like, I don't know. And so I played a year in Huber. I played for a league that they had in Huber for a year, and then I just called it quits after that. Because I was getting into, I had soccer, and then I was racing, and I was starting a job and school and stuff. I was like, I don't have time. I have to cut something. And so,
yeah. And racing's kind of like in your blood.
Yeah. So I was like, kind of get rid of soccer. Although I do wish I would have at least tried out for the high school team just to see.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that with baseball.
I didn't think I was good enough, and I had a bunch of people saying I was, like that they wanted me to or that I was, and I was like, I'll look into. I went to all the open gyms and like open fields. I went to those, but then once tryouts started, I left. So I still and I was competing. I don't know. It was like a mental block, I guess. I was like,
well, maybe a little lack of confidence.
Yeah,
like you said, maybe it was just like, I've got to pick and choose where I'm going to focus, whatever, and this was easy.
I do want to get back into soccer, actually. I wanted to, I had a goal to do an indoor league this coming winter if I can get back into and do an indoors league.
This is like a New Year's resolution?
That was kind of my New Year's thing.
I'm going to help hold you to that.
Get back into soccer.
I mean, I think sports, if you can find that sport that is fun and you don't realize that you're exercising, it's really good for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you can exercise without like that chore of exercising, like for me, that's what swimming is. And people hear me, you probably get tired of me saying that. But like, but if you can find that, especially because like part of our health, our physical health is like keep moving, right?
Yeah.
And one of the best things you can do for that is to run and just be active. And football/soccer is like a great way to do that, And then the other thing is for mental health, like putting yourself through challenges and being part of a social team is really good. Like if I've always thought like if I ever had kids, I would want to make sure that they played some type of sport just for the social aspect and the exercise, And soccer, I think, is a great one for that. Do you watch the World Cup?
I did. I
don't watch it like every 4 years.
This was the first year I did.
Okay.
I don't watch soccer otherwise, but like for the World Cup, I was watching it.
When you were playing, did you watch soccer at all?
Not really.
No.
I mean, no. I always watch football and basketball, but
soccer
is kind of boring to watch. It's fun to play for me, but like to watch, I've always thought it was boring.
I can get that. Like it can be kind of boring to watch,
especially the professionals because they're always like slow.
Yeah, and then you got games that are like 1-0
Yeah.
until they like kick off at the end, and all of a sudden the score is like 5-4, and it's like hold the fuck on, you like played for like a whole hour and a half, nothing happened, and then you do some kicks at the end, and now all of a sudden the score is 5-4. Come on. No,
World Cup was late this year, actually, especially the championship game. I don't know if you watched it, but
I didn't watch much of it. The only World Cup that I got to really get into was the one that was in South Africa.
Okay.
A couple cycles ago. I think the World Cup is just fascinating.
Yeah.
There's something about watching all the different people in the world kind of come together in this friendly competition. I mean, I know that there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of this and that, but it seems like on the pitch, like it's just a game. You know what I mean? It's just my country against your country, and I'm sure there are rivalries and things like that, but it just seems like it's a really cool moment for the world to kind of come together in sport. I feel the same way about the Olympics. But the World Cup is even different than that because the World Cup is like soccer is like football is like literally the world's most popular sport.
Mhm.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, it's. I mean, like you could do it anywhere, pretty much. Yeah.
All you need is a ball.
Yeah.
Like you don't need nothing else. Well, you might want to have some feet. But even at that, like, hey, you know.
Yeah, they play it everywhere.
Exactly. And you don't need much. Like anything can be a goal, right? We could be like, all right, we're going to turn this room into a soccer field and we're going to put one trash can down there and one trash can down here. Those are the goals. All we need is a ball. Doesn't matter what the ball is. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can play with any kind of ball. You might break your foot off on something if it's too big or
Use
too
a
heavy.
bowling ball.
Yeah, you might not want to use a bowling ball, but you know what I mean? But like overall, like, you know, you can play with a kickball ball, you can play with a ball.
Whatever you want.
Especially if it's a round ball, right? Not like that
Okay,
weird shaped football.
I was gonna say we crumpled a piece of paper and taped them together and used that as a ball.
Like the only other one to me is like I think basketball is quickly becoming a very popular sport in the world. But the main difference is you need a hoop. Like you need a hoop. So you don't need anything for soccer.
Yeah.
You know, I honestly I think both of them are like really great sports for teamwork and working out together and you know on a world stage. I feel like basketball will catch up to soccer a little bit, but
Basketball's been getting pretty good in the like Europe and whatnot.
I think so.
European players are taking over the NBA.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
I mean, it's gonna be like baseball soon. You ain't gonna see any Americans. Like baseball these days, it's like all Latin American, Caribbean Islanders. Like most of them have Spanish last names, and most of them are black. Like, that's just what it is. Like,
I was gonna say that probably the top 3 players in the league right now are European.
are they?
With Giannis,
In basketball?
Giannis, Nikola Jokic, and Luka Doncic probably.
Right on.
I'd say they're probably top 3.
Right on. Yeah, I've kind of seen that for a while. I think there's something to be said about sports when you come from communities that have like a little bit less to offer. Like they give you an outlet, and it's something to do to burn off that energy. I think like that's the other thing about sport is that it's a great coping mechanism. Like to deal with life stresses and to learn how to deal with life stresses, to learn how to deal with like social interactions and even more specifically like the idea of winning and losing.
Yeah.
And making mistakes and picking up and moving on.
How to be a good winner, not a sore loser.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest thing you learned from playing soccer was outside of like how to kick a ball?
Communication really helped. Like being able to communicate well with other people. That was a big thing that I got. And it really helps me when I like play basketball up here. So I'm probably one of the biggest talkers on the basketball court. I mean, I'd say
You talk shit.
no. Like I mean, I talk like a player, like a player coach.
Communication wise.
Yeah. No, I don't talk trash because I'm not very good.
He's like, I'm not good enough to talk trash. That's fair.
But I could see better than I can play. Like I see things happening that
Okay.
I think is.
That's interesting because it feels like that's similar to how you feel about racing. Like you would rather be an official and kind of watching and observing
Yeah.
and making sure everything's going than being in the car.
Never really thought about it like that.
You're ready to be a coach.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Put me in, coach.
Coach me up, coach. With that being said, thank you for your time, brother.
For sure.
Thank you for sitting down with me for an hour. We've been talking about doing this for a while, and I'm really glad we got to sit down. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your likes, shares, subscribes. All the algorithm love is super helpful. That's all I want for Christmas, really, is just for you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and give me some algorithm love. I don't even have an avenue for people to like donate money or anything because right now, like, I just want to do this, and I just want to continue doing this. And the best way that you can support me is to subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. I know it's cheesy and it's kind of hard to like ask for it every time, but it really is like the best way that you can support me and chit-chatting with Chet. So thanks for the love. See you next time. Deuces.